This video is made possible by the Signs of Life community on Patreon. Are you ready to take your ambient skills to the next level? Or maybe you're just starting out and looking for more tutorials for the absolute beginner? On Patreon, you'll not only find tons of exclusive tutorials and presets, but you'll also find videos on specific topics such as mixing, compression, arrangements, ambient textures and layering, and so much more. If presets and samples are your thing, you'll also find over 70 Patreon exclusive preset packs, as well as exclusive construction kits complete with MIDI files so you can get a head start on your next track. And finally, if you want personal one-on-one instruction for ambient, sound design, and music production, check out the ambient coaching tier. I've already changed the lives of hundreds of clients, and I know I can do the same for you. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today and join us. Link is down below in the description. All right, so here we are inside of Ableton Live 11. Now the goal with today's video is the full track walkthrough. I remember when I first started the channel Signs of Life 2.5 years ago, the goal was the full track walkthrough. I really wanted to make that video for a long time. And now here we are 2.5 years later, and there's plenty of full track walkthroughs on the channel. There's also a lot of other content there. So today we're going back to the old school and we're just gonna walk you through an entire full ambient track. Now, before we start, I wanna make a couple things clear. Number one, you don't need Ableton Live to do this tutorial. It's not necessary to have the same DAW as me, although some of the techniques might cross over. You can use any DAW of your choice. Number two, you don't need any of the software that I'm about to show you. I think a lot of people feel like they need a certain software to do something that I'm doing. The truth is there's plenty of free alternatives and replacements out there. So use what you got, and the best synth is always the one right in front of you. Now, the third thing is, if you want to support this channel, I am on Patreon. There's a huge library of tutorials over there for you. You can also check out my website where I'm offering a free 15-minute ambient coaching consultation with me. It's a great opportunity, so check it out. I'll leave the links to everything down below in the description. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing I'm going to do, I thought of this as a good way to start. I'm going to pull up Catalyst. Now, I did a video on Catalyst a little bit ago, and Catalyst is an amazing sequencer from ToneWorks. And what I'm going to do with Catalyst, because it's a great way to start a track, is I'm actually going to load a synth plugin here inside of Catalyst. Catalyst is also a plugin host, which is really cool. So I'm going to load Vital here. And as you can see, Vital loads inside of Catalyst. I'm going to move this on the screen. And then I'm going to pull up a preset that I made recently for a Patreon micro pack. I do these little micro, like 5 to 7 presets, and I just put them out every week on Patreon. And so this one is called Harmonia. Now what I'm going to do is come back over to the sequencer, and I'm going to adjust the rate to like 1/2 or 1/4. We're going to set a key here. I'm going to play in D minor here today, so we're all straight. I'm also going to adjust the tempo of the track. Let's play in like, I don't know, 88 beats per minute. All right, that sounds good. So let's go ahead and just plug in a little sequence here. We're going to activate all of the steps by clicking on all of these numbers down here at the bottom. And then you can go ahead and just adjust some values here. Now, as you know, we have the key of D minor, and there's just we're just going for the root note and basically the minor third and then the fifth. So let's go ahead and just play that. I'm just going to press play here. As you can see, Vital is starting to marinate there in the background. Now, because we've chosen a pad, what I'm going to do is on this pad, I'm going to lower the attack. So if you didn't know, putting an arpeggiator or a sequencer through a pad is a great way to start an ambient track. I've done this since the beginning of my career. So all you have to do is lower the attack of the patch, a little bit faster rather. And it's a really great way to get some ambience going. So I've adjusted the attack to around 1/2 second, and it still like fades in, but you don't get that click. It also gives you a nice tone, which is really cool. So as you can hear, I'll put this through the synth bus. We now have some nice ambience going, right? Now, one thing that's cool about Catalyst is that you can also use parameters here. So we can map, up here we have 3 possible mapping possibilities here. So let's go ahead and just click this. As you can see, the plugin went yellow. That means it's active. I'm gonna click on macro 1 here. And let's see if that will activate. There we go, macro 1 is now mapped to that. And I think I will map this to the tempo of LFO1. Let's see if I can map that. There we go. So now as you can see, macro 1 is mapped to A and LFO1 tempo is mapped to B. I'm gonna come over to the parameter sequencer and turn those on, okay? I'm gonna adjust the rates here to 2 different rates. And I will randomize this and adjust the direction. I'm also gonna adjust the direction of the sequencer to be random. So coming back over to Vital, you can see that now those parameter sequencers are now adjusting my LFO speed here. You can see that's being randomized, and so is macro 1. Now you can do this with anything on the plugin. It's really cool. So any plugin that you got, you can host it inside of Catalyst. You can use parameter sequencing here. It's super dope. I love it. But as you can hear now, we have a nice background swimming ambience. This is really good. So let's go ahead and start stacking some delays here. This is another trick that I've been using lately to really get some nice ambience going. So I'm gonna pull up the Hollow delay. Just a simple stock delay. It doesn't have to be crazy. And yeah, let's dial in a patch. So we're gonna come here to the just default. We'll make this digital, future. We'll make this a ping pong delay, dotted, 8th note ping pong. There we go. My favorite delay. Adjust the feedback to taste, mod rate down, depth down, EQ. You know the drill. So that's your first delay. Then what we can do is add another delay after that. So let's go ahead and grab another delay. We'll grab another Valhalla delay, and we'll make this one a little different. So we'll make this one digital, but we'll make this one dual, and we'll make this a note delay of like a quarter note and a half note. There we go. So now we're really swimming in delay and ambience here. But you can still hear that catalyst in the background, right? So that's gonna be the base of our track here. I like that. I'm happy. Catalyst, I'll leave the link down below in the description. It's a great sequencer plugin. And yeah, it's a fantastic way. Using this trick, the sequencer or arpeggiator through a pad trick. Absolutely love it. All right, anyway, let's go ahead and add a second pad on here. I started with Serum, but I think I'm going to do this from scratch so you guys can see how this is done. So what I like to do is if I get one pad going, I like to add another pad that's playable, and then I can start, you know, really getting in the mood and feeling where I want to go with the track. So let's add a wavetable here. These are from my Patreon pack. And that looks pretty good. These are really good wavetables. I made these in Vital. That'll work. Okay. So again, I'm gonna turn this down here. Let's turn it down. Put this through the pad bus. By the way, I'm using the utility template for Ableton Live. A lot of people who've watched my channel know about this template. It was made by my buddy Don Tyler. I'll leave the link down below in the description for that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do a simple lead pad. So not quite the length of attack that I would with a normal pad, maybe like 3 seconds. Decay around 3 seconds, lowers the stain down to about 75%. Up the release. You can zoom out here. There we go. See what this sounds like. There you go. The reason why I love Serum so much, I have this ongoing love affair with Serum, is because it really just cuts through anything. It's like my razor's edge. It's not quite the Swiss Army knife, but it is a razor's edge. It's so sharp. I love it. Absolutely love Serum. Always have. And so let's go ahead and modulate that wavetable position with this LFO just by dragging this over. Shift-Alt-click on any modulation source makes it bipolar. On a Mac, it's probably Command Shift Click. And let's listen to that. Okay, we can also make a second envelope here for our filter, which also helps. So take the sustain out of that. Your second filter envelope should be, it could either be a little quicker than the other one, but just drag this over. And now we have a second envelope that's going to act as our filter envelope. So I would drag an envelope 2 over to the cutoff. If you're a beginner, this really helps. There we go. Very nice. We could put a sub oscillator into this. Now with my sub oscillators, I don't like to have them be as loud, so I turn the sub oscillator down. Love me a triangle or a sine for a sub oscillator. Turn it down an octave. That's good. Cool. So we're rolling here. You can hear that lead pad is starting to poke out every time the envelope goes through. So every time I press a new key, because I've used an envelope here instead of another modulation source like an LFO or a chaos modulator, it's very playable. I can also use velocity on the filter here. Use sparingly on a pad. So the harder you press down the keys initially, the velocity. Now it's affecting the filter position. And we can add one more oscillator on here. With my second oscillator, what I might do is turn this down a tremendous amount, add another wavetable here, and have this be kind of like a sort of coloration, if you will. Right? Use Chaos 1 to modulate that position. That'd be nice. And the reason why I say I turn it down is because it's not going through the filter. I haven't put it through the filter. You can if you want. Just another way to get some character into your pads. Now I have 2 send effects that I use all the time. I have Valhalla delay here with that dotted 8th note dual delay. That's on send A, and send B is my Valhalla room preset. Okay? And this one is my favorite. Why? You're about to find out. You hear that? That deep, spacious calm that just overtook your eardrums. That is the room preset. Valhalla Room is my favorite Valhalla plugin. just gonna be honest. It's great. So you see, the reason why I left that second oscillator open, meaning it's not being closed by the filter, is because it really does add up. When you put it through room, you can hear that sharpness of Serum that comes through. It's like a digital edge. I love that. This is really, really, really good. All right, cool. So that's how I like to start. Now, you can take this any way you want to. This can invite other feelings. I mean, you could pretty much call it a day here and just do 20 minutes of ambience. Of course, we're not going to do that, but this is really good. I like this. So again, going back to the beginning, we started with Catalyst. I put it through a pad. Use any sequencer you want. You can use Stepic here. And that is going through Catalyst. And again, this pad is from my Patreon pack. It's just a simple pad called Harmonia. Modulating some parameters. You can do this obviously natively in Ableton. And then we moved on to Serum. And in Serum, I created this, what I call a lead pad, which is something a little more playable, a little sharper, has more of an edge. Added the usual modulations to it, and we're off and running. So let's record some of this lead pad into the timeline here. I'm gonna switch over to arrangement view because we're doing a full track walkthrough today. So I'm gonna switch over to arrangement view and yeah, let's record some of this. We'll start at bar 9 and I'm gonna come back here and stop the track. Let's do this. All right, and there we go. So I'm gonna scoot this over to bar 9, and now you can see that Catalyst is still playing. Now you could record Catalyst or just leave it going. Doesn't matter. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just gonna leave Catalyst playing at will. Record that later. But yeah, that sounded good to me already. So there you go. Now, the next thing I like to do is I like to bring in a bass element. Bass is something that's often so overlooked in ambient music. And that's a shame because bass is where we gather all of our emotional response to this music. I really feel like the bass is a crucial part. So if you're missing bass or it's not there, it's kind of like you have a hole in your track. There's something that you need to address there. So let's go ahead and grab another synth for bass. Now, I have a lot of options here, and maybe you do too. We can use Diva, we can use Hive, we can use Vital, Serum, Surge XT. Let's use Hive. Hive is a great synthesizer for bass. Why? Well, it just sounds good. And it's got a really good virtual analog engine, which I love and appreciate about Hive. So let's make a bass pad in Hive. And by bass pad, I mean a really simple waveform style in Hive. So what I've done here is I've immediately come over to the amp envelope and I'm adjusting my amp envelope. Amp envelope is the volume of the actual synth. So if I just go ahead and play right now, and here, that's just a sawtooth sound with a little bit of cutoff filter there. Okay? Nothing wild about that. Right? But you can hear the effect, like just adding a simple low note. I think that's like D0. Or is that D1? That's D1. D1 on the keyboard. I mean, that in itself, with that 24 low pass filter there, you could call it a day there. You know, like you could finish it off just there. But we're gonna go a little further. So what we're gonna do is modulate some filter movement like this. Add some of that filter movement there. That's good. Okay. We're gonna do that with an LFO. So we'll come over to the LFO here. And if you're using another synthesizer, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put my LFO on sync mode. That means that it's free running. So if you're using Vital, for example, it might say trigger, put it on sync. And that means that it's gonna be synced to clock. I'm gonna drag this target over to my cutoff. Now you can see the cutoff is now moving. And as it moves, you can hear that filter start to open up. I like that effect. It's very good. Now, one thing about Hive that you might not know is that everything runs through these filters. So if it's not running through a filter, you don't hear it. So what I'm gonna do is turn on sub 1, and then we'll be able to hear the sub oscillator. Now, sub 1 is right now set as a pulse. I'm gonna change that to sine. I'm also gonna turn down the volume and then turn it on. So now we have a sub oscillator that is, I've now retuned it. There we go. That's good. Now Hive also, this is also worth noting, is that if you ever wondered why Hive sounds weird, is that Hive naturally comes defaulted at -12. That threw me off for a minute there. Like, why would it do that? Well, I don't know. But either way, you can put it back at 0 and go back down to D0, and then it would sound like this, okay? So for this ambient track, because I'm feeling it's sort of like we're going in this direction, I'm gonna leave this here. Now what I'm also gonna do is another cool thing you can do with bass is turn the voices down to like 2 or 1. You can even make it mono, okay? And add some unison. and slightly detune it. Okay? That's gonna give your bass a little bit more movement. A little bit of unison goes a really long way. Just a little bit. Unison, if you don't know, is making copies of the waveform, and then detuning it is how you're pulling apart and detuning those waveforms. So with a bass, if they're slow moving waveforms and you're pulling them apart ever so slightly, that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and just lay this note in here. All right. Draw mode, 8 bars. There we go. Let's make this a 64 bar clip. There we go. And we'll restart from the beginning. So you can hear that bass. Let's put it through the bass bus. That sounds fantastic now. I like that. So we've got, let's rename these tracks. So this is the Harmonia. And then this is our Serum patch, called a Serum lead. And then this one is our Hive bass. How remiss it was of me to not remind you to always save your patches. If you make something from scratch, save your patches. I will save this in, I don't know, save this here. Boom. Okay. Cool. So now where should we go? Because now we have a nice bass level pad. We have a lead pad. We have an actual bass sound. Let's start building our first sequence, okay? Now, with a sequence in a track like this, I like to make something that's very simple to understand and hypnotic. That's one of my goals, because you don't want to get too complicated, you don't want to go too fast, you just want to make it like something that's going to bring the listener in. Invite them into your world, right? Let's use Stepic. And with Stepic, what I'm gonna do is turn off Stepic right away, and we're gonna dial in our Pluck before we even step to Stepic, if you know what I'm saying. So let's go ahead and make a Pluck in Serum. Again, this could be any synth of your choice. Doesn't have to be Serum. Serum, however, is a great choice. I highly recommend it. All right, so let's go ahead and just shorten the attack. So what I did was just drag this envelope down, basically taking the sustain all the way out of it, and gave it about maybe 850 milliseconds of decay. That's it. Make a second envelope and make that even shorter so you can see it. It's about half the length, okay? And that envelope is gonna be tied to the filter. Now, right now it came default is bipolar, so you don't want that. What you want is a unipolar LFO or unipolar modulation coming from envelope 2. So either I can go Shift click Alt and make it unipolar, as you can see, it just like cut off half of it. That's how I know visually that it's unipolar, or I can come over to the matrix and switch the type from bipolar to unipolar. Bipolar means 2 directions, unipolar means 1 direction. I think most of you knew that, but in case there's any beginners here who are watching this for the first time going, what's this guy doing? I'm just trying to find a balance here between beginner and advanced tutorials here. All right, anyway, so now we have that. You can hear, I'm gonna play this and put it through the synth bus. Okay, that's what our Pluck sounds like so far. It's just a sawtooth going through a filter, a 24 low pass filter. I like to put a sine wave as my second. You can either use the analog BD sine, or you come over to basic shapes and use the other sine. I think they're just inverted phase. It doesn't really make a difference. And Then I'm going to take an LFO, which is a modulation source, and make it 4 bars and drag it over to the cutoff. Make sure that's unipolar. And it's at a 4-bar rate, meaning it's going very slow. So every time I play, it's getting brighter, listen. Okay, and then it gets darker. There you go, now it goes dark. So you can adjust this position of this cutoff any way you want. And now, it's Stepic time. Now here's the deal. We're gonna come over to Step, we're gonna turn off Serum, we're gonna come over to Stepic and start dialing this in. Let's make it 8 bars. So immediately I grab the steps, make it 8 bars. I also make sure that we're playing in the right key. So D3 natural minor. It can be any octave range you want, but this is the one I'm using right now, okay? I'm gonna change the note length from 16th notes to 8th notes, okay? And this is, like I said, is gonna be a very simple to understand, no frill sequence. Meaning that I think it's just gonna be straight up. I'm not gonna change anything about it, really. I'm just gonna dial in something simple. If you have a different sequencer, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just, it's a straightforward, not even a random sequence. It's just straightforward, okay? And now, let's add a delay here on the end of our chain so you guys can understand this. Let's add a delay. Okay, we'll go back to that stock delay, that syn delay. This is the dual dotted 8th note delay. I'm gonna turn the mix down because this was a send effect to about 70%, and my feedback's at 64. Okay, now I'm gonna turn on Serum. Listen to this. You hear that? One of the things about ambient music is that some of the best sounds that you hear in this genre come from simple waveforms. They're not crazy, outlandish FM or wavetables or anything that you would imagine it would be. Sometimes they're just from those basic waveforms using simple effects. I can't stress that point enough. So if you can sort of wrap your mind around that and say, you know what, I could make a pad out of just sawtooth and sine waves. I can make a pluck out of the same thing. I can make a bass out of a square wave. You know, like these kind of things, just simple 4 waveforms and then branch off from that. You're gonna have a lot better understanding of the language of sound design. Add a little reverb to this. I like that. Woo! At this point, we have our canvas has presented itself. We have now understood the entire picture. Now, here's the cherry on top. I'm gonna add 5th track. Okay, we'll call this our just Stepic sequence. Okay. Well, what I'm gonna do is grab Vital for our cherry on top here. And in Vital, I'm gonna build another sequence that's going to contrast that first sequence. Because the reason why I made that other one so simple is because I can make a super complex sequence in Vital and have those 2 things interact with each other, right? So let's do that, all right? We're gonna come over here to the grid of the LFO, and I'm going to turn on the paintbrush, and I'm gonna change the grid to 16. You see how I made it at 16? It started out default as 8, and then I'm gonna make it 16. Go ahead and take your paintbrush. With the paintbrush active, that's the down ramp. Just go ahead and make some down ramps, dude. Just make some down ramps. Happy little down ramps. Turn off the paintbrush. Grab one of these, hold shift, and drag them all down. So they're all dancing in a line. You see that? What you effectively just done is created a sequence full of like decay ramps. Okay? Real simple stuff. Leave it on trigger and put it on either 1/1 or 2/1. 2/1, because it's 16, would equal 8th notes. 1/1 would equal 16th notes. You follow me there? 16 grid, 1/1 is 1/16. But 2/1 at a 16 grid is 8 notes. Half of that. Bingo. Drag the LFO1 over to level, and now listen. Now that I think about it, that would make a nice bass sequence too. It'd make a nice bass sequence. So if you want to know how to make a nice bass sequence in Vital, there you go. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one step further. I'm going to go up here. Okay, we're going to move it up a couple octaves. So I'm playing right now like D3. Okay, now what could you do with this? A lot. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn on the filter, make it 24, tie that LFO to that filter, lower down the amount. So now, as the LFO is playing, the filter will move. So it's essentially acting as our filter envelope. I've covered this many times on the channel before, but I just want to throw it out there again because we're doing a full track walkthrough, all right? Sometimes you forget the things that I teach, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, whoa, I remember that trick, and you'll want to explore it again, all right? Second LFO, sync mode, 4/1, tie it to the filter. So now the filter gets darker, it gets lighter. Cool. Establish that one. Now, take a random LFO down here, change it to sample and hold, make it 1/8, and tie it to the pitch. Remember this one? Instead of it being 48, right now the value is at 48, right click and enter value, make it 12. You can do that over here as enter value, or you can do it over here as enter value. Either one. Dial in some notes without hitting transpose snap. Don't hit transpose snap, just make it relative. And therefore, if you're playing on a push like me, it'll just be whatever. It'll be whatever you're playing in, it'll just relatively transpose it in a minor scale. I always go by the C minor scale because I can see that visually here. All right, that's kind of a good start. Here's what we want. We're gonna do a second wavetable. Grab a second wavetable. It doesn't matter what it is. This is from my Patreon pack again. Okay? And what we're gonna do is on this one, let's draw a second sequence, if you will, arpeggio, whatever. Okay? Same process. Take it off, hold shift, drag the ramps down. There we go. So now this one is running a little slower, but check it out. We're gonna tie it to the level of this one. So this one's running at a different speed, and we can tie that to a completely different filter. So this is gonna be a really complex sequence. Number one. Another random sample and hold. Change the notes of it. Okay, enter value 12 or 24. Transpose snap. can even up the octave here. Take another random. Make this bipolar. Okay. Starting to do a little extra modulation here. Now, let's add some delay, shall we? I'm gonna take that same stock delay that I made over here. Okay? I'm gonna take that same stock delay, right click, copy it, paste it over here. Play. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. So now we got a dual sequence over here. I'm liking that. I am really liking that. Okay, good. Now with this one, you don't have to play too many keys. I mean, you can just literally lay it down. It'll come in here. Here it goes. Let's rename this Vital Seek. There it goes. Yes. Nice. So, right? We made the Vital sequence. We made the Stepic sequence with the Pluck. We made the Hive bass patch. We made the Serum lead. We made the Catalyst Ambient Pad. And now look where we are. I feel like there needs to be some sine waves or something. I love this. I love this because there's so many different depths to explore here. Like, you can start pulling these tracks in and out. They can come in, they can come out. We could pull this sequence out, leave the Stepic sequence, or do the opposite. Make certain moments where the pads can come in and then be left alone. So at this point, your next steps is up to you. And I think as an ambient music producer, whether you're just starting out on your journey or you've already released a couple albums, whatever it is, there's gotta be some takeaways here. There has to be some takeaways for you to say to yourself, if I'm being honest, all possibilities are open. And it was my goal here today to show you guys that there are higher levels of this, but really it comes down to simple solutions. So if you can take those simple solutions that I've offered up here today and apply them to your own workflow, there's nothing that's gonna separate you from the goals that you have, musically speaking, and manifest those things to life. Bring them into reality. Music is an invisible art form. We're playing with sound, which you cannot see, but you can hear it and you can feel it. So hopefully with these techniques, you'll begin to make your dreams come alive in reality. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to learn more about me, like I said in the beginning of this video, feel free to check out my Patreon page. There, I do tutorials like this every single week. We have over 100 preset packs on there. We're doing monthly meetups on Zoom. It's a wonderful community, and I'd love to have you over there. If you want to find out more about what I do, check out my new website, signsoflife.com, where you can book time with me. You can book a free 15-minute ambient coaching consultation. You can check out the new merch line that I just launched. There's always something happening in the Signs of Life universe. But I hope that this tutorial has inspired you and helps you realize that anything is possible. Take good care, you guys. Thank you again for watching. And as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life. And I'll see you guys in the next one.